Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and we'll call the Monday, November 13th, 2023 City Council meeting to order. Should we all stand and say the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. We bow our heads and our hearts before you, O God, creator and sustainer of all things. I pray that you would enable us to so live and to so serve our constituents so that we will receive honor and praise at your hand someday. Grant this body, Lord, the wisdom and the fortitude to adopt your ideals and your desires for our fair community. Your wisdom, O God, established this community in 1849, and you, O God, have sustained it and prospered it. Thank you. Grant, Lord, that each member of this body and this community would find and follow your will. We pray these things in the lovely name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. And honorable members of this council, may God's wisdom descend upon you.
Thank you, Pastor Linville.
Jake.
Marla, would you note the presence of a quorum?
Troy Patton,
Here.
Mike Johns,
Here.
Scott Fry,
Here.
Cindy Spiljarek. Here. Scott Willis,
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Jake Gilbert.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Marla. There are no changes to this evening's agenda. It will be as printed. First item on tonight's agenda is approval of the minutes from our October 23rd meeting. Councilors, have you had a chance to review the minutes, and do you have any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
A second?
Second.
A motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Spiljarek. Would you call the roll, please, Marla?
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spiljarek.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes passed.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the claims docket for tonight, November 13th, 2023. Councilors, do you have any questions regarding tonight's claims docket? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the claims docket for November 13th?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Willis, seconded by Councilor Spiljarek. Marla, can you please call the roll?
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spiljarek.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Claims passed. Motion carries.
Tonight, we have, under special business, we have two proclamations that are scheduled for this evening. The first proclamation of the City of Westfield honoring November as the National Diabetes Month. And I think Councilor Willis is going to handle that proclamation.
Yes. Marla, you want to join me? We got somebody here from... Riverview. Very good. So November is National Diabetes Month, and tomorrow is actually World Diabetes Day. And I asked Marla to join me up here. Do you want to share, I don't want to give away medical, but do you want to share with your experience with diabetes?
I don't mind sharing. I was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic 3 years ago in August. While I won't share other people's medical history also, typically diabetes type 1 is diagnosed in a lot of juvenile diabetics. And Judy is my diabetes educator at Riverview through Noblesville Diabetes and Endocrinology. So I've asked her to come and give you some facts about what it means to have diabetes or who has diabetes. So just want to say thank you for the acknowledgement.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. So I have just kind of some facts and information that I'd like to share about diabetes. According to the National Diabetes Statistics Report of 2022, diabetes is a growing epidemic in the United States. From 2001 to 2020, the prevalence of diabetes has increased significantly. The American Diabetes Association reports greater than 133 million Americans are living with diabetes or prediabetes. That's approximately 37%, almost 40% of Americans. Of this 133 million, of this 133 million, 33 plus million have diabetes, that's 1 in 10, and 96 million have prediabetes, which is 1 in 3. Diabetes and its complications are serious and costly. It is the 8th leading cause of death. It costs $327 billion in medical costs and loss of days missed at work and wages. Diabetes is a chronic condition that, when poorly managed, can lead to debilitating complications. It is a leading cause of kidney failure, neuropathy, which is damage to the nerves, retinopathy, which is damage to the small vessels behind the eye, and heart disease. As a matter of fact, people with diabetes have twice the risk of developing and dying from heart attack and stroke than someone without diabetes. Most people's bodies produce the hormone insulin, which helps convert carbohydrates and sugars that we consume into energy so that we can use or store that energy for a later time. When you have diabetes, your body either doesn't make insulin, doesn't use it well, or it's a combination of both. There are different types of diabetes. There's type 1, which used to be referred to as juvenile diabetes, and is thought to be caused by an autoimmune reaction that destroys the cells of the pancreas, not allowing it to make insulin anymore. This is known to, or is thought to account for about 5 to 10% of all cases of diabetes, but it can develop most commonly early in life, but can develop later in life as well. Type 2 diabetes is a problem in where the pancreas makes insulin, but the body doesn't use the insulin well, and accounts for most cases of diabetes, 90 to 95%. LADA is a newer type of diabetes that we are still learning more about. It refers to latent autoimmune diabetes in adults, also known as type 1.5. And it starts later in adulthood, usually after age 30, and initially presents like type 2 diabetes, but is caused by an autoimmune reaction or process that damages the pancreas cells, and the pancreas then stops producing insulin, similar to type 1 diabetes. This is thought to account for about 10% of those cases of type 2 diabetes. And then gestational diabetes is diabetes during pregnancy and is related to the different hormonal changes that happen during pregnancy, and this occurs in about 10% of all pregnancies. Okay, all forms of diabetes are being diagnosed at a higher rate. It is an enormous public health problem and is important to raise awareness and take preventive measures to reduce the risk of developing diabetes. First, it's important to know your family history of diabetes. If you have a family history, then you have a greater risk of developing diabetes. No matter what, it's important to live a healthy lifestyle, aiming for healthy body weights, even small amounts of weight loss. If you are overweight, research shows just even 5% weight loss can reduce your risk for developing diabetes by 58%. Staying physically active and aiming for about 30 minutes of moderate activity a day has been shown to reduce your risk of diabetes and improve insulin sensitivity. Eating a healthy diet, of course, lowers a diet that's low in sugar and low in saturated fat with lots of colorful vegetables and fruits is recommended as well. In addition, it's important to establish care with a family physician, PCP, on a regular basis, keeping your annual wellness checkups. And it's also recommended to have your hemoglobin A1C checked once per year if you have diabetes. or I'm sorry, if you have prediabetes, and hemoglobin A1C is kind of it's a lab value that's kind of the gold standard for diagnosing diabetes. So if you do have prediabetes, you want to have that checked once a year to make sure that it's not progressing into diabetes. And then if you are 45 years old with the risk factors of diabetes, such as being overweight, inactive lifestyle, having hypertension, elevated cholesterol, or using tobacco, or having a family history of diabetes, you also want to have that hemoglobin A1C checked once a year. I thank you for giving me this time and opportunity to share this information.
So if I could, let me read real quickly a proclamation that the city has written. Whereas November 2023 marks the observance of National Diabetes Month and World Diabetes Day, celebrated annually on November 14th. And whereas diabetes and pre-diabetes are national epidemics impacting more than 133 million Americans, and diabetes is one of the fastest growing chronic diseases in the world. Whereas the impact of diabetes extends beyond physical health, affecting the emotional and economic well-being of those diagnosed and their loved ones. And whereas the city of Westfield, Indiana recognizes the importance of raising awareness about diabetes, promoting prevention and supporting those living with this condition. And whereas during November 2023, communities across our nation will come together to educate, advocate, and raise awareness about diabetes and its management. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Westfield, Indiana recognize and support National Diabetes Month and World Diabetes Day. And be it further resolved that the city of Westfield, Indiana encourages citizens to engage in activities that promote diabetes awareness, prevention, and support by those affected by this condition. And in witness whereof, J. Andrew Cook have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the great seal of the city of Westfield, Indiana, on this 13th day of November 2023. I will try to hand this to you as I juggle everything else up here. Thank you. Bring it to us. Appreciate it. Pooja, would you like to come up as well? How are you? Now, Pooja, you live in Carmel, correct? Yes. But you're a big advocate for the Hindu community. And you'll be here today accepting the Hindu Heritage Month proclamation, which was actually October. We're a little late in our celebration of that. But Diwali was yesterday. There you go. And you want to tell us a little bit about this and the month?
My daughter will tell you a little bit about it. Ready?
You can't? Okay.
I'll hold it for you. You can do it.
I don't want to stick.
Mama's right here. Don't worry. Look.
Diwali is the most important holiday of the year for the Hindus across the world. The festival gets its name from the row of clay lamps that people light outside their homes to symbolize the light that protects from darkness. This festival is as important to Hindus as the Christmas holiday is to Christians. Diwali is celebrated to uphold the victory of good over evil. It is celebrated by lighting diyas and decorating their homes with rangoli and colorful lights. People also light up firecrackers and exchange gifts and sweets with friends and family. The festival of Diwali is observed for 5 days, but in reality it's a month-long celebration, starting with Navratri, followed by
The Shera.
Karva, then Terrace, and eventually Diwali. This usually falls during months of October and November. May the spirit of Diwali determine us that out of darkness there's light and knowledge, wisdom, and truth. From division there's unity in common bonds of empathy and compassion. From insultation there is community in the
This proclamation
and symbolizes the support or the city provides embarrassing diversity
Embracing diversity
and making all citizens welcome and a part of the fabric of America.
we thank the city of Westfield. We thank the citizens of Westfield, and we thank Mayor-elect Willis. Go ahead.
You say.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I think she reads better than I do, actually. So, oh, she did great. So let's read this proclamation real quick. Come on up here. Come on up here. All right, you ready? All right, whereas October 2023 marks the observance of Hindu Heritage Month, and whereas Hinduism is the third largest religion in the world, with 1 billion devotees worldwide and 4 million here in the United States, and whereas Hindu heritage, culture, and traditions serve as a source of inspiration, reflection, and contemplation for the millions of people who look to the teachings of Hinduism and guidance, and whereas our vibrant Hindu American community has contributed tremendously to the vitality of the city of Westfield and the state of Indiana by enriching the lives of its citizens, whereas during October 2023, the Hindu community across the state of Indiana, our great nation, will collectively celebrate its heritage by focusing on its culture and with the diverse spiritual traditions rooted in India. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Westfield, Indiana recognizes and celebrates Hindu Heritage Month, and be it further resolved that the city of Westfield, Indiana calls upon our citizens to recognize the importance of the Hindu American community in our city and state and the many contributions they have made throughout our history. In witness hereof, J. Andrew Cook, have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the great seal of the city of Westfield, Indiana, on this 13th day of November, 2023. Can I shake your hand? Thank you so much. Great job. Chris, I'll give this back to you.
Thank you, Councilor Willis. Okay, our next part of the agenda will be looking into old business. Let me remind everybody that per resolution 21-121 relating to transparency, councilors do not need to recuse themselves, but are required to disclose if they've received contributions of $1,000 or more when voting on any actions involving one of their contributors. First item of business tonight is ordinance 23-21, the Wheeler Landing PUD Amendment Number 8. This item had a council introduction on September 11th, 2023, followed by a public hearing on October 2nd, a APC recommendation on November 8th, and is back for adoption consideration this evening. Caleb Ernest, can you tell us more about this ordinance, please?
Sure. Thank you, President, members of the council. For the record, Caleb Ernest with the Community Development Department. As it was announced, this is an amendment to the Wheeler Landing PUD, and you last saw this council introduction. Since then, from the workshop meeting, as well as the public hearing and the favorable recommendation at November 8th Plan Commission meeting, the petitioner has made revisions based on comments at the public hearing and the workshop meetings, all of which can be reviewed in my staff report. In short, the revisions are made in relation to architecture, parking, ordinance exhibits, and sunset language. Representatives for the petition are here tonight. They do not plan on making a presentation, but are available to answer any questions, as am I, should you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. Councilors, do you have any questions regarding ordinance 23-21?
In the spirit of transparency, I don't believe I've taken any money from the actual builder that's being impacted this, but I have received contributions in the past exceeding $1,000 from the landowner of this project. So I wanted to disclose that in spirit of caution.
Thank you, Councilor Willis. Are there any comments, questions?
I'll say one thing, Mike. I just really think that this was originally proposed further north, up on 186th. And I really think that this is a much better location for this project and believe that it will be an asset for the community.
I would add to it that initially, when this project was first presented, I had some questions regarding the amount of masonry on the buildings. And as the developer went through, he made some modifications, revised some of the facades for the buildings, and I think it's a wonderful project, personal opinion at this point in time. Hearing no other comments or questions, do I have a motion regarding ordinance 23-21?
Motion to approve ordinance 2321.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made to approve by Counselor Spillier, seconded by Counselor Gilbert. Would you call the roll, please, Marla?
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item this evening is ordinance 23-22, Custom Commerce Park PUD Amendment. This item had a council introduction on September 11th, 2023. APC hearing was held October 2nd. It received a unanimous vote for approval at the APC on November 8th, and it's up for adoption consideration this evening. And I believe that Matt Skelton is going to give us a little history on this one.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. For the record, Matt Skelton with Church Hill and Antrim with offices at 116 North Union Street here in town. With me this evening is the petitioner, Eugene Gorin, near the back of the room. We were last before you on September the 11th for introduction. We went to the Plan Commission, received a pretty good reception. Didn't have many things to work through. We returned to you with a unanimous favorable recommendation. I won't go through all the minuscule changes, but we were asked to do some more buffering from the Monon Trail, and we've done that, and it's included in your materials. With that, I'll happy to respond to any questions you may have, and we would appreciate your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt, my only question was about that buffering.
Uh-huh.
Can you just elaborate on the
Sure.
changes?
Sure. So when we originally put the PUD together, we showed this enhanced buffering across here, and we were just asked to take it on down here because you can't. It's hard to tell from this exhibit because it's not zoomed out enough. But you could, if you were looking, the Monon is over here, so it just adds some additional screening. There you go. This area right here.
Okay with that? Any other councilors, any other questions or comments? Can I have a motion, please, then, on ordinance 23-22?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 23-22.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Council, a motion for approval was made by Councilor Willis, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Would you call the roll, please, Marla?
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thanks, Matt. Our next item is ordinance 23-24, an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance for Town Run PUD. This item had a council introduction on September 11th, 2023. There was an APC workshop on September 18th. There was an APC public hearing on October 2nd. It was followed by another APC workshop on October 16th. On November 8th, it received a unanimous vote for approval at the APC and is up for adoption consideration this evening. And Lauren Gillingham is going to present this project to us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have anything to add. As you mentioned, it's Town Run PUD, 35 acres at 146 in Town Run. Some of the big changes from when this was, I guess, the most recent workshop is the addition of a trailhead at the southern end of the site, as well as enhanced buffering and architectural exhibits. Matt Skelton of Church Hiddle Antrim is here to speak on anything else. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. For the record, Matt Skelton with Church Hiddle and Antrim. We're happy to be back before you this evening. We have spent time since before and since our introduction with you, working with our neighbors, working with staff, and working with the Plan Commission to address the various feedback and input that we've received along the way. And we're happy to report we come to you this evening from the Plan Commission with a unanimous favorable recommendation. We want to applaud your workshop process. Has worked very, very well with this project. It allowed the opportunity for the dialogue we needed and the feedback we needed so we could address these items in an efficient manner. And really, I mean, I think we're returning to you in what I would think is almost record time, so thank you. We did address several items that were raised by the Plan Commission. They're detailed very well in your staff report. If anybody has any questions about those things, I'm happy to go over any details. But we have worked closely with the Miller family, our neighbors to the west. At our last introduction meeting, we had been requested to obtain a letter indicating their support. We've done so, and you should have received it this morning via email. And lastly, there was an item raised earlier today by Public Works Director Nail regarding a desire to have some coordination for entrance locations along Town Road, and Adam was able to speak with him directly, and I think we're all on the same page. You want to add anything?
No, we are on the same page. We've recommitted. I think we've mentioned this numerous times that we certainly will work with the developer to the east on coming up with the best locations for those, and with Director Nail.
And that concludes our summary. If there's any questions, we're happy to respond.
Do we need to memorialize that, Manny, so that we ensure that we don't have any hiccups down? Not that I don't trust anybody in the room, but probably doesn't hurt to memorialize it in some way, I would think.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's part of the minutes, right, tonight, so you can always go back to that, but it wouldn't hurt to have just a short agreement or to append the amendment.
And I don't want to overstep, but I'm sure the city has the ability to compel us to do a traffic study, and that's what he's asking for.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other council comments?
I'll just share that I know both Cindy and Mike, that you're on the APC with me as well, but an interesting position now being up here. But you know, jumping all the way back to May of 2022, when you guys were last before us then, and it being a completely different project, and then taking a little hiatus, and step back to, okay, how can we better this development, and how you guys have brought this forward now. I fully agree that everything happens for a reason. You know, as much as it might have liked the previous one, took a step back, and we definitely have a better project because of it. So thank you.
I agree with you. Thank you.
Any other comments, councilors? Do I have a motion then regarding amendment, well, ordinance 23-24?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 23-24.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by, to approve by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Spiljerik. Marla, would you call the roll, please?
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spiljerik,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes,
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, folks.
thank you. Our next item, ordinance 23-32, amending the American Rescue Plan Act of the City of Westfield. This item had a council introduction on October 23rd, 2023, and is up for adoption consideration this evening. Councilor Spoljarek has pretty much managed this project from the beginning. Cindy, can you give us just a quick oversight?
Not much has changed. Nothing has changed since the introduction that we had on this. Just to remind everybody, we did receive these funds, which totaled over 9.9 million. One of the things early on that the SBOA and guidance from Treasury suggested that we withhold 10% of that amount for audit. And they came back later with further guidance to say, no, we didn't need to do that, especially since we are using the standard revenue loss calculation because we have under 10 million in these funds. So we were able to reallocate those monies that should have gone to audit under the old guidance to now go to surface transportation infrastructure projects. And so we've given the director of Public Works some leeway in terms of using those funds in how they could best be prioritized for our immediate needs. So that's pretty much the major gist of this, and any further changes with this ARPA plan, anything comes back here for amendment. So if there's further refinement with anything within the plan, it should come back. But that's it for this one.
Well, I for one, am pretty excited that we were able to recapture those funds from the beginning. I was wondering if that was the cost of doing business. It was pretty steep. So,
Yeah.
okay. Councilors, can I have a motion then on ordinance 23-32?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion made to approve by Councilor Fry, seconded by Councilor Gilbert. Marla, would you call the roll, please?
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spoljarek,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Our next item is ordinance 23-33, Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, adopting the second-class city status. This item had a council introduction on October 23rd, 2023, and is up for adoption consideration this evening. Do I have councilor comments?
There was something in here, and I'm trying to find it, regarding the role of the controller and that being a financial professional. And I was kind of confused where that language came from, because that's not currently the way that the Indiana code reads, and we have no definition of that. I think it's in the last whereas. I was wondering if there's a way that we could maybe strike that, because I don't know what that means, and nor do I know that it's relevant.
It currently reads, whereas the duties of the current clerk treasurer shall be divided between an elected city clerk and an appointed controller, a financial professional, who would bring the city of Westfield closer to an organizational structure of business. And I would agree. I'm concerned with the definition of financial professional, what that means. I think if we were to strike it, as Councilor Spoljarek suggests, it would read, whereas the duties of the current clerk treasurer shall be divided between an elected city clerk and appointed controller who would bring the city of Westfield closer to an organizational structure of a business. And in my thought, that mine, it makes more sense.
I'm indifferent. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, financial professional is broad. I mean, I read Marla's comments, and I mean, a financial professional can be very broad, truthfully. You know, I mean, I would like to see the controller be a financial professional or someone that has some kind of background in finance.
It just seems kind of, I don't know, a weird place to interject that, to me.
I agree, I understand, I'm with you, it's a broad statement. I think part of the reason where we're at today is because we lack some financial acumen on some of the, you know, just saying, you know. But, again, a financial professional can be very broad. Yeah. You could have a 2-year degree and be a financial professional. I mean,
Well, that's what I was questioning. I didn't know the definition of that.
I know enrolled agents that are smarter than CPAs. I mean, you know, look at me. Yeah, just saying.
Manny, does this language limit us from who we hire or don't hire in that role?
No. You can hire anybody who you deem worthy and appoint them as a controller.
So are we suggesting then to just remove those words?
We can remove it. I don't personally care. I mean, but it's gonna be up to Scott or whoever is that next mayor, or whoever it is, I mean, they will live or die by whether they hire someone that's actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because
They're going to hire someone with some financial expertise.
let's hope.
For sure.
Let's hope.
We hope so.
Well, in the spirit of simplicity, I'd say leave it as is and let's move. If it doesn't change the hiring practice of the mayor of 2028, I say let's just move on from it. Let's get it passed.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. Just when this was around the first time, I was for it. It wasn't quite the right time. That was made abundantly clear by the council. But for me, my vote really wasn't about the personnel, the current mayor, the future mayor, anything like that. So that was, my vote was aside from that. But now I do find myself, interestingly enough, still voting aside from the personnel, but did just want to commend our clerk treasurer in waiting. So I just feel like publicly I wanted to say, even though our structure and status may be changing, I just appreciate the efforts of Ms. Ayler and all the hard work, because the information that she has provided in my latter days here in this office have been, I don't know, honestly, I don't really know the term other than just I'm grateful. And I felt like I was better educated by some of the things that Marla brought to the table, helped me do a better job as a counselor. And I do hope in transition that she continues to be thorough and continues to work alongside Scott and our next council in that same fashion. And who knows what the future will hold when in 2028, but I just wanted to commend Marla for the job she has done, and I'm hopeful about the job she will do in the future in providing some of this financial acumen. And I just wanted to say that publicly, because a lot of this vote last time did have, it was personal in many ways about the players in the room in some ways, and I personally think you've done a great job. I just want to tell you that.
Can I say one more thing, Mike? And this is just, I see several future counselors in here right now. This is going to require redistricting, because there'll be 6 districts and then be 3 at large. And so just a word of advice, you're going to want to do that like sooner rather than later, only because you're using the census data from this last one anyway to do that. So it's kind of a tedious process. So I'll just warn you guys now. You might want to not wait until the 11th hour on it.
And I've got one question, and Manny, we got an email from you, I think this morning, related to this. Connect those dots for me. What was that? What were you explaining there? I think it was in reference to an email about the districts.
Yeah, it was Councilman McCarty at the last meeting requested that the description of the council districts and the at-large be more specific, and so I just added that it would be 6 council districts and 3 at-large.
Okay, so section 4 is where the change was.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
No problem.
Any other additional thoughts? Can I have then a motion with respect to ordinance 23-33?
I'll make a motion that we approve the
Second.
ordinance 23-33.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Fry, seconded by Counselor McCarty. Marla, would you call the roll, please?
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spiljerik,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Hey, just real quick, Manny, it actually, section 4, it actually reads, which includes additional at-large districts. When it says additional at-large districts, there's only one at-large district. I mean, I know the statute actually says it
Yeah, the
anyway.
most recent one, you're right, the statute
Yeah.
specifies it's
Yeah.
3.
I mean, not that there was, yeah, okay.
Yeah, good
No
point.
big deal.
The statute does specify.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes our old business for this evening, and we will now move on to new business. First item on new business is ordinance 23-34, authorizing the clerk to make fund transfers. This item has a council introduction this evening and will be up for adoption consideration on Monday, November 27th. Marla, can you tell us about this ordinance, which I think we've seen before?
You have absolutely seen this ordinance every year that you've been here. It's pretty run-of-the-mill and standard for end-of-the-year practices that allows the clerk treasurer to make the appropriate transfers where any line might come up short or negative. They're usually interfund transfers, but it allows her to do that so that we can close out the year.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Marla. Okay, moving on then. Our next item is Resolution 23-113, the City of Westfield adopting a new purchasing card policy and procedure manual. And this is up for adoption consideration this evening. Marla, can you?
All right. So this resolution was really written just based on, we had a discrepancy in policy and procedure when it comes to purchasing gift cards, which the manual had strictly said you could never purchase gift cards. But often our HR department might get one, or we did have an employee, staff member, whose child passed away and took some time FMLA, and like any compassionate organization, felt necessary to help them with meals and things like that. And so that was sort of the need where it arose. Also, another situation, it was Customer Service Appreciation Week and recognizing our customer service staff. Now, these aren't exorbitant expenses by any stretch of the imagination, but the policy didn't allow for it, and it had occurred. So this is really a corrective action to better define the needs of the city and the organization, but also tailored down the policy, which was 27 pages, not often being read, into 10 pages. But I would be remiss if I didn't add that this was something that John Rogers had worked on, really toiled on it back in November. It was passed in November of 2011 and really hadn't been revisited. So I just kind of made it a mission to eliminate a lot of the redundancies in the policy and tailor down it, said over and over, purchasing card, which we commonly call them P cards, and then kind of also reduced just how long it was so that people could pay more attention and have now a checklist that needs to be initialed so that everyone will read it and understand it. And with your passing, I did speak with the HR director this morning and asked her that I could bring it to Board of Public Works, having already been passed, but officially make it a part of the entire policy and procedure manual for this city. So, so far I've gotten good feedback from Jeremy and John, and so I'm just hoping you would go ahead and pass it for us. Barring any issues you've got, please let me know.
Counselors?
Marla, how many P cards do we have out there? Do you know?
We do have a lot. I actually didn't count them. They're on an Excel spreadsheet. They are in the specific name of the card holder. Typically, it's held to department heads and managers. There are 2 departments that have cards in the name of the departments. And John and I actually had an email exchange today where MasterCard doesn't love it, but for ease of use for those 2 departments, which happen to be police and fire, Carrie, the clerk treasurer's chief deputy, has been the administrator of the policy. There are 2 coordinators, which are for police and actually public works. So we do have a nice separation of duties and a great way to double check, so to speak. So in that regard, it's good, but I actually didn't physically count them, so I apologize. Didn't know it would come up, but could answer that for you.
Are we making sure that we're not paying sales tax then? I mean, with the use of these cards?
So the card not only has the city logo on it, it also has the tax exempt number. It's not an elaborate process, but we all go online to do detailed expense reports, which this policy actually stipulates that it's really a weekly expense report as opposed to monthly, but we have to make sure that we get those claims approved and passed on your claims docket. So it's really a very detailed process that the city has had, and it's been working really well. And so sales tax, if a person paid sales tax when they should not pay sales tax, the individual is actually responsible to repay the city for that. And that has happened. There have even been some unapproved gift purchases that has required the person to pay the city back. So highly regulated.
Okay, thank you.
John and Jeremy, did you have anything for the council about this?
Yeah, so John and I have both reviewed it. We appreciate the simplification. Don't have any concerns about what's being proposed.
I have one question. If cards are being used improperly, does council still have the authority to remove people from? Because the way I read it, looks like it gives the clerk treasurer sole authority on those P cards.
It doesn't give the clerk treasurer sole authority. In fact, it would give, it has leeway there that I believe the mayor and the administration, this at least was my intention, that mayor and administration could decide who all should have P cards. Generally, it's department heads and the managers, and then who these coordinators would give a card to if department head said, I need this purchased on this shift, say for fire, and then they could use that fire card. But that's why they have a special coordinator. So it's only as limiting as you would like to make it going forward. I know we talked about maybe doing it later. I was kind of already at the end of it. But it's not limited to our authority to do anything. I think if you want to say, hey, we don't want that many out there, that would be fine. It's more of a organizational thing going forward, where I think, it would certainly be within your right to say, I don't want that many out there, and then we could help collect them.
Manny, you're giving a look there. Do you agree with that, or? I was a little confused when I read it.
That's just not how I interpreted it, I guess. I guess I had the same question you do. It seems like it gave sole authority to the clerk treasurer to determine who can and cannot have them, and that's a internal control issue as well. So this may take another read of it. That's how I interpreted
If you would like, I'd be happy to add a section in there that maybe more clearly defines that, but I took it as we are the administrators of the policy, but not necessarily designating, we're not telling anybody who can have cards. And the original policy didn't stipulate who had the authority to decide that either. So however you'd like it, I'd be happy to write it that way.
Yeah, that's where it was, Jeremy. Purchasing card coordinator shall be the clerk who may withdraw authorization. So that's where my confusion was.
So, okay, so it actually, I didn't even catch it. It should say the purchasing card administrator, but
So let's just
policy doesn't necessarily say that. It says improper, in the policy, it says that improper usage could result in the card being taken.
And so that's another issue we should resolve, because a conflict with the policy in this, usually there's a conflict provision where it says if there's a conflict, X controls, and this doesn't have that either. So I think it's worth another look for that issue alone.
Okay. So section 3, and then would you like me to expand that to who will decide to designate how many cards there will be, or who gets?
I don't think that's necessary, as long as it clarifies, because it reads that way, reads like the coordinator has control over that process. So I think statutorily speaking, that's the way it works, correct? And you're shaking your head, is that correct? So do we have to add that in when I think it's already that way, or do we need to go that far?
I think that whole sentence can come out.
You just scratch the sentence and it accomplishes what we're trying to scratch?
I agree with Ann. That would probably do it.
So I will tell you, I did send the old resolution to Mr. Webster when he drafted this one, so it may have been in the original resolution when it was approved, but I would be happy to scratch it if you guys want to make that motion to amend it, excluding that line.
I would feel more comfortable with that. I don't know how the other council feels about it.
And I had one other question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. With the exception, with the gift card exception, it looks like each user has the ability for up to a max of $150 per year. Is that correct? Am I reading that right?
I'm sorry, can you tell me what section and page you're looking at?
Page 5 in the manual itself. Last paragraph. So you've outlined the different uses and the max per use, but again, if I'm understanding that, there's a cap for each, correct? Total would be 150 that you're looking at there.
No, I don't think, that was not the intent.
Okay.
So I looked up federal law, and what I'll say is this is loosely based on their recommendation when it came to what a special recognition event was. And so what we're saying is you should not exceed $100 for a gift of prize or chance, or $50 for a gift of special recognition. So I'll use a real life, for instance. We just had the chili cook-off. So it was the entire organization was invited, and there was a first, second, and third place. I actually don't know what first place was, but this policy was meant to dictate that first prize could never be more than $100, right?
As many times as we needed to do something like that.
As many times as someone would want to do that.
So I guess where my confusion comes in is the last couple words on the second line there in the last paragraph, per employee in 1 calendar year.
So that is for a special recognition event like customer service appreciation. That's only happens one time per year.
So there's not a limit, is what we're saying. There's not a cap to this.
There is not a cap, but it should be done within reason. Now, the other thing is when you're doing a by chance event, like we do for the community, it would be an odd circumstance if someone won something twice, but we couldn't necessarily say you can't win something twice if it's by chance.
Sure, I understand.
Or the same thing with the chili cook-off, it was blind.
I assume you know where I'm going with that, is I just want to make sure that we understand what our exposure is here and that there's some way to monitor that exposure. That's my bottom line.
So what I will say is, this was not in the policy before, but was being done with exceptions. So my effort is to put it in writing. If you have a suggestion for clarity, again, I'm happy to accept that.
Each exception goes through department heads at this point, once this is approved? Is that how that would work, or?
So all of the approvals ultimately go through the department head unless the department head is the person making the purchase, in which case it goes to the coordinator. But all of those then come to the administrator, and all of them appear on your claims docket. So it's a multi-level thing that's happening. And if it gives you pause, though, I want to make sure that I get it right on paper, which was sort of why the reason for page 10 in that checklist. If someone has a question, the expectation is they would come and ask and not do it now and ask for forgiveness later. Because ultimately, they're going to be responsible for that card. And if it was deemed an inappropriate purchase, they are going to have to reimburse the city.
Sounds good, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Willis, can you restate your?
I will try. So I make a motion to approve Resolution 23-113, striking the last sentence of Section 3.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made to approve Resolution 23-113 with the addition of striking that last sentence in Section 3, made by Councilor Willis, seconded by Councilor Gilbert. Marla, would you call the roll, please?
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Cindy Spoljarek.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
That concludes our new business for this evening. Do we have any residents who wish to address the council? Jeremy, do we get any cards at all, or? Oh, looks like we
No,
might
we
have
don't.
one.
Hold on. Do you have a card? Go ahead and we'll collect your card afterward.
Alexis Lowry, 521 Jetstream Boulevard. I have a letter I would like to read to the residents of Westfield. Dear Westfield residents of District 4, reflecting on the recent election results, I want to express my sincere gratitude for your unwavering support throughout this campaign. Your belief in our shared vision has been a driving force, and for that, I am truly grateful. With just over 8,000 registered voters in District 4, only 2,353 cast their votes. Unfortunately, 175 individuals who had pledged their support never made it to the polls, and I lost by just 23 votes. The stark reality is that I had more than enough pledged support to secure victory, with 175 individuals who, for various reasons, couldn't make it on Election Day. The number was more than 7 times the margin by which I lost. Every vote matters, and not voting is a vote. While the outcome may not have been what we hoped for, let's view this moment as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Our journey together is far from over, and the setbacks we face today only fuel my determination to create positive change in Westfield. I want to apologize if I fell short of your expectations. It's a humbling experience, but it also strengthens my resolve to work harder, be more diligent, and strive for excellence. The challenges we encounter are opportunities for growth and improvement, and I'm committed to learning from them. Westfield has always been my home, and my love for this city is unwavering. I promise you, I will never give up on our community or the ideals that inspired me to enter this political arena. Together, we have already sparked a movement for change, and that energy will continue to drive me forward. Your voice matters, your concerns matter, and your dreams for our city matter. Let's channel our disappointment into renewed determination. I am here for you, and I'm here for Westfield. Together, we can overcome any obstacles and create a brighter, more inclusive future for our community. I may have lost in 2023 by 23 votes. So in 2027, let's lead by 27 plus. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey. Let's keep moving forward because our shared vision is worth every effort. With gratitude and determination, Alexis Lowry for Westfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. And I encourage you to keep your dreams and move in your efforts. Focus in a positive direction. Do we have any other residents who wish to speak this evening? Hearing none, clerk treasurer comments.
I have one thing. I don't think I actually said it, and I spend a lot of time like writing myself notes to make sure I get specific wording said during these meetings, but I did want to say that rewriting that policy really wouldn't have been possible without the foundation that John had laid. So I want to thank him for that and acknowledge that was a tremendous amount of work, and I just spent some time tweaking it. So we want to be compliant, and we also want people to read it. So anyway, thanks, John. The other thing is, on your discussion, regarding the clerk treasurer versus a controller, just to be clear, in the 2 years now that I have worked for the clerk treasurer, albeit the first year as part-time, I have learned so much from not only Cindy and the staff, but I think sometimes because of everything that's happened in the past, we forget to thank her for the incredible job that she's done. And she, more than anybody else, she's worked for the city for 30 years. And every day the doors are open and every day the lights come on. But it's so much more than that, and she has worked really hard. So I feel sometimes like the comments are a bit cutting, as if to say she hasn't done something. I'm just trying to take what she's already done, maybe do it differently. She would acknowledge sometimes do things differently and better. But I want to make sure that when Scott is ready to appoint a controller, that I have the clerk treasurer's office set up in a way that it'll be a very smooth transition into that, because none of the duties go away. None of the roles go away. We will still need a payroll manager. We will still need a clerk and a deputy clerk. We'll still need a financial analyst. We're still going to need somebody doing invoicing. So whether or not the current staff are the right people, combined, those women have each more than 15 years of experience, 76 years total. With Cindy, it's 106 years of experience for the city of Westfield. So they should really be thanked. And I just felt like those comments were a bit cutting and just wanted you to know that. Finally, the next greatest thing we are working on is many of the departments, me, Jeremy, HR, with Mayor Willis, Mayor-elect Willis, and his new chief of staff. We're all working together to try and create a fringe benefits policy, which there's some stumbling blocks to getting there, but we're really looking forward to rolling that out, hopefully before the first of the year, as it needs to be done and has never. So you'll see that coming, and thanks for your time. I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, Marla. City councilor comments. Cindy, can you give us an APC report?
Sure. It's not too long tonight. The APC met November 8th. We had no items on consent agenda. All three of the rezone-related items on our agenda discussed tonight received favorable recommendations after discussion and some amendments. The 2024 meeting dates for both the APC and the Plat Committee were approved. Commissioner Kelleher mentioned that there is the estate lot project, can't remember the name now, Promontory? No, I'm gonna get that wrong. But it's the Hankey development in Zionsville. And that she was citing that there is still a market for homes with bigger acreage, which she's often brought up, that there is still a market for that. And Commissioner Maui brought up the architectural issue that when appropriate, foundation masonry should extend beyond exterior corners, that stopping it at exterior corners is not a good architectural look. And so he's hoping that when we see these PUDs come through, that things like that will be looked at. That's it.
Thank you, Cindy.
I have two things actually real quick. First off, I don't see her here, but a shout out to Kayla Arnold for our first ever Veterans Day program this past Friday. It went off very well, got good reviews, so hopefully that is the first of many to come. Second, just a quick question. It doesn't look like we're carrying much over. Are we meeting the second time in November, or are we going to push to December? Or?
Yes, we're going to have the full schedule. So we will meet on Monday, the 27th.
Okay.
We won't probably, hopefully be a very short meeting, but we've got a couple items that we need to get addressed at that meeting. So
I just have a couple shout outs as well then. Recently, police department has made some high profile arrests, so just thank you to PD for keeping us safe as always. On the note of Kayla, but then also rest of the welcome team and Public Works especially, they just installed the ice ribbon, and that's a big undertaking for them over the next several months, and a huge asset for the city as well for our residents and visitors alike. And then just seeing Coach down here once again, awesome job so far here in the playoffs, and one more to get to state at versus Crown Point. So take home that win on Friday night.
Any other comments, councilors? Okay, I've got just a couple here. We are going to have a meeting on the 27th and maybe two meetings in December. We've still got some work that we need to get accomplished as a council. One of the items that I'd like to address at our next meeting, John Nail, if you could give us a somewhat comprehensive report on State Road 32 and where we stand on there and the letting and the costs for that. That is one of the items moving forward that the new council is going to be hit square in the eyes with probably in the first quarter of their year and one of our biggest expenditures for next year. So I want to make sure that we're leaving them in good shape with that. The second item, John Rogers, you had talked about, I think you asked for up until the first meeting, December 11th, to present the non-DGL or non-DLGF fund report. That's perfectly fine, but I would ask you, if at all possible, if you could get that information to the council no later than Monday, December 4th. So we've got a week to review that before the meeting. It's getting toward the end of the year, and time's going to be stressed, so it would help us if you could do that. All right. The only other thing I have is I do want to thank Marla specifically and the Clerk Treasurer's Office for really, over the last 2 years, for doing and using their best efforts to work with the administration and work with this council to put together changes in policies and procedures to make things a little easier and have more processes in place and easier for the new council that'll be coming in a couple months here. So thank you, Marla. Appreciate your comments from earlier this evening.
Thank you. It's been our pleasure.
With that, do I have any other comments, councilors? Hearing none, we'll call this meeting to a close. Thank you.